Hey everybody, Big V here, Coach Burrow. Welcome to today's webinar. In the background you see Chet, everybody wave to Chet. We're going to have a great webinar today as we're talking about how to greet this day with love in our heart and how to really become great leaders. I want to give you a couple of things that will make it a little bit easier. First of all, if you look at your control panel, there's an area where you can ask questions, and I want to make sure that you have the ability to ask questions today. I'm going to talk about really how we create successful teams and how we develop great leaders and the approach that we have in talking to them and developing them. You know, as team leaders, one of the challenges we have is creating an environment for people to grow and creating also an environment that provides an exceptional level of customer service that allows us to focus on the things that we do best. And so I want to make sure that you have the ability to ask me questions and to type in. So if you want, just go into the questions area and just give me a hello or let me know that you found that and you're able to ask a question. Just say, hey, Verl, Big V, good to see you, whatever. I'm feeling good today. Jill, nice to see you here. Good, we had lots of people on the call today. And so love to see everyone, you've got it. We've always been using a GoToWebinar, but we've switched to using Zoom video. And I'm a big proponent of Zoom video and how it works. And so I want to make sure that you'll have the ability to do this. And there's a free version of Zoom video. This is a great way when you're doing a listing presentation or a buyer presentation or you're negotiating or presenting an offer, when you have an opportunity to allow people to see you face to face, and you also have an ability to share your screen and allow them to see what you're seeing when you're looking at comparables or whatever. It's a great way to do that, and the free version of Zoom is available to everybody. So I don't care if you use Zoom or not, but I tell you, it's a really cool tool that we use in coaching. And so in all of our private coaching sessions, what we do is we go in and we have our coaches do a Zoom video, we record the video, and then after the session, that recorded video gets uploaded into the client's account, and then they can go back and listen to the session or go back and listen to the dialogue. Oftentimes you'll get great things coming from your coach. So a couple things that I want to throw out today is the title of today's session is, I will greet this day with love in my heart. And it's pretty much physically impossible to share this scroll with you without getting into the greatest salesman in the world. And in Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World in chapter 2, it's actually chapter 9, on page 58, he says, I will greet this day with love in my heart, for this is the greatest secret of success in all ventures. Muscle can split a shield, even destroy a life, but only the unseen power of love can open the hearts of men. And until I master this art, I will remain no more than a peddler in the marketplace. I will make love my greatest weapon, and none whom I call upon can defend against its force. So for me, what I love is I love that Og Mandino teaches the principle that great sales is a result of really caring more about your people than you do about the money you're going to make. I love private client Julie Timms out of South Carolina says that if you walk around with commission breath all the time, people can really smell it. And I believe that if people know that you're focused on how much you're going to make instead of how much you really care about them, what happens is that creates a barrier between you and your team members or you and your clients. So what we want to do is we want to think about service and how do we serve the people that are on our teams as opposed to how do we manage them. And so I want to share with you a concept that I've been working on about the difference between a manager and a leader. You see, a manager is someone who manages other people's activities. They direct them on what to do, they make them do them, and they hold them accountable because they work here. A leader is someone who gets people to do activities because they want to do it, not because they have to do it. And so my question to all of you is, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a manager? Or do you want to be a leader? And when you think about that, the difference is really how you view the relationship between you and the people that work with you. If you're managing them, and I'll use something simple. You know, we do the daily success habits, and we make everybody do 61 points of rhythm, and there's this a series of activities that happen there. What happens when we do that is the buyer's agents on a team meet either one of two ways. We either get a high level of resistance, meaning I don't want someone to hold me accountable, I don't want someone telling me what to do every day, I don't want to track what I do, or the buyer's agents say, I understand that you're doing this because you want to see me accomplish my goals and do better, so I'm going to hold myself accountable to do those activities. When you lead with love because you want for them what they want for their families, your team members are more likely to step up and perform at a higher level. But if you have to manage them or micromanage them on a regular basis, what happens is they feel like you're babysitting them. And you'll hear things like, well, I'm an independent contractor, I'm doing the best I can. I had one of my team members, one of the people that we coach, reach out and say that they really don't want to do 61 points. They really don't buy into the Ogmandino stuff, and they really don't need to listen to the buyer agent mastery videos because they're all doing really well. And when I look at their performance, they're not performing. They're not even doing a minimum. They're not even doing the minimum of acceptable performance when they signed an agreement joining the team of 2 transactions a month. And so my response to that is that they may not be a good fit for our team. If we have to manage them, if we have to babysit them, if we have to talk them into doing the activities, then we're probably not doing a very good job as leaders. See, as a leader, I like to look at my relationship with the people on my team as that I'm developing my replacements. So if you were to step back and you were to look at your buyer's agents and your listing agents and your support staff with the attitude that I really care about you and I want to make sure that I train you in a way that allows you to take over for me when I stop working in the business. If you approach the interactions you have with your team members as I want to train my replacement, it completely changes the way that you approach leadership. Because if you're training them to replace you, you're going to be more patient with them. You're going to take the time to explain things well so they really can do a great job. You're going to understand what their motivators are, what drives them, and you're going to approach the interactions in a way that delivers a much higher level of engagement. So they want to do it for you as opposed to you making them do it for themselves. Does that make sense to anybody? And so I'm going to go back and I'm going to share with you the importance of the daily huddle and what we do in a daily huddle. If you care about your people enough to hold them accountable, let me say that differently. If you care about your people enough to create an environment where they choose accountability as part of their daily regimen, then you're on the road to a successful team. But if you create an environment where there's always pushback or conflict when there's accountability, then you probably will struggle with building your team. In coaching, one of the things that we do with our coaching clients is we're constantly reiterating and reinforcing concepts that create a higher level of engagement with the team members, as opposed to a feeling of you're beating me up. And so it's not simple. It's something that you have to really work hard at. You have to conscientiously, Terry Murphy says you have to intentionally create the business and the environment that you want. And I love how she does that. She talks about intentional connection. So let's talk about a daily huddle. One of the things that I've learned is that if you inspect what you expect and you create a culture of accountability, people start to appreciate it and they start to want it. They want someone to ask them what they did because it forces them to do the activities that they know will get a desired result. And so we do a daily huddle. And this is the outline that we use for the daily huddle. I'll share with you a screen a little bit later that will give you the ability to download my daily huddle, and I'll give you the outline for it. But what we do in the daily huddle is we review a few things. The daily huddle is not where we review, wants and needs of buyers and sellers. What I want to do as a leader is I want to have a 10-minute huddle where we go over the key things that they're doing that will get the result that they want to be able to make a difference in the lives of their families. And so if they've set goals to buy a home, or they've set goals to get a new car, get out of debt, or take care of their mother-in-law, whatever motivates them, whatever that driver is, then we work backwards into that goal to create a system of accountability where we check in with them on a daily basis and see how they're doing and whether or not they're doing the activities that generate that predictable result. And so we look at the activity tracker, and those are the things they do in 30-minute increments to see what they've been focused on. The second thing we do is we look at their daily success habits tracker to make sure that they're literally doing their 61 points every day. I've learned that when you track closings and you celebrate the closings, that's a nice high five. But when you celebrate the activities that generate those closings, that's when you start creating momentum in your team. And the activities, by tracking how many calls it takes to have a conversation, how many conversations it takes to get an appointment, how many appointments it takes to get a buyer agreement or a listing agreement signed, what happens when you track all of that is you start to get a predictable rhythm of what it's going to take to be successful. So if you know that you've got to sell 40 transactions this year, and you work backwards into the number and you track your daily activities, we're able to see that it's going to take 70 calls a day and 5 conversations. And of those 5 conversations, you're going to set 2 appointments. And of those 2 appointments, one of them is going to turn into a sell. Once we know those numbers, we just get up every day and we do what we have to do to make sure we do the contacts and the dials necessary in order to hit that number. Does that make sense? And so what the daily huddle is all about is the daily huddle is about coming in and reviewing the activities that they committed they wanted to do to make a big difference for their family, and really understanding what motivates them. And so we look at the 61 points. We ask them if they've prospected for a minimum of an hour today. Did they make a minimum of 25 dials? How many contacts were made? How many appointments were scheduled? And did they do at least a role play for at least 30 minutes? If any of our teams are going through the Buyer Agent Mastery program, what happens is on Thursdays, there's a live role play call. And all of our teams send all of their buyer's agents in, and we practice scripts and dialogues. We practice location, price, motivation, work with an agent, qualify for a mortgage, how to set the appointment, qualifying, and how to get to the appointment. How do you really determine whether or not they have an agent? So we give very specific dialogue on how to convert leads. And as we do that, you get really good and proficient at it. So we want to make sure that you're role-playing with your team members every day, not just showing up on those weekly role-play calls. And so it's a 30 minutes of role-play. I'm getting over a cold, so I have a little bit of scratchy voice today. And so we look at those things, we review them, we give them a high five for the things they did well, and then we ask them what they want to do today. How do we help them, and how can I serve you so that today's a better day than yesterday? You know, we might review or recite our core values. We might we always demonstrate appreciation for their hard work. We model positive behavior. Now, this is a big one. When I say we model positive behavior, what I mean by that is, as a leader, if you're expecting your agents to do 61 points a day and you're not doing it, if you expect your agents to role play and you're not doing it, if you expect your agents to fill out what they did in 30-minute increments and you're not doing it, then it's going to be very difficult for them to follow you into whatever battle is raging at the moment. And so if you want your people to follow you, if you want to be a true leader, you have to lead by example. People mimic what they see. And so if you're too busy to do things, they'll be too busy to do it. If you don't have time to show up for the huddle, they're not going to have time to show up for the huddle. If you don't do role plays, they're not going to do role plays. So as a leader, we have to set the example and model the behavior that we want from our team members. And by setting the example and modeling that behavior, it lets them know that we care deeply about them as individuals. And then we go through and we ask team questions that are directed about, you know, what appointments you have today. If they don't have any appointments, what do you have planned to change that so you have appointments tomorrow? If they say, I have appointments, and this is really important. Let me show you where I'm looking at. Let me see. Where I'm looking at is right here. I'm learning my annotate tool. And so I'm looking right here where it says team lead questions that are directed to them. It's, what real estate appointments do you have today? If they say none, I'll say, what do you have planned to change that? If they say I have 3 appointments, and I say, oh, that's awesome, congratulations. Show me who your appointments are with. Now, why would I ask that? The reason I ask that is because I want to know if they have appointments with clients. A lot of times our team members will say I have appointments, but they've got get their hair done, or they're getting a manicure, or they're going out and doing things that are not real estate related. And so it takes blocks of their time out, but it doesn't give them the result that we want. And so we want to make sure that we qualify appointments and encourage them to do things during the workday that are productive and dollar productive activities. And then I ask them, you know, what do you think you need to work on to get people to commit to an appointment? And so that's a great question, because oftentimes they know what they need to do, but they aren't willing to recognize it or admit it. And when you do these daily huddles, what happens is you start to develop this relationship with the individual that is daily. They recognize that you care about them. You're going to ask the same questions every day. And so it starts to change behavior that will serve them better. It's not changing behavior so you can make more money. As a team leader, if your goal is to change behavior so you can make more money, then you're not motivated by the right things. If you take care of your people and you lead with love, then they know that you really care about the result that they're getting for their families so they can achieve their goals, and the accountability is for their benefit, not yours. I promise you, as sure as I'm standing here, that the money will take care of itself. But you have to lead with love. You cannot lead with accountability, and you can't lead with a stick. I mean, I guess you can, but I found that it's not a very effective form of leadership. We want to lead with what? We want to lead with love. And then team leader, other team leader questions is, what else do you have planned to do in real estate today? I recommend you increase your prospecting, include the following. I love going over dead leads and calling old leads, calling previous buyers and sellers, working your top 50, contacting your database or your sphere of influence, working on expireds or for sell by owners, and then making a commitment to prospect for a minimum of an hour a day. And then I also want them to track when they prospected and what that looked like. So when we review it tomorrow, we can see that they did the activities they committed to today. The whole concept of a daily huddle is following up on caring about people enough to actually show up to give him your one-on-one attention for that 10 minutes. So if you have 4 buyer's agents, you got to block 40 minutes, and you got to do 4 10-minute huddles every single day. Does anybody have any questions about the purpose and what we do in the daily huddle and why we do it? So now's a good chance for you to just ask the questions in relationship to the daily huddle. So if there's particular things that you're concerned about, right, type it in the questions area, and I'll take a second and answer that. I will greet this day with love in my heart, Ogmandino says, and how will I act? I will love all manners of men, for each have qualities to admire, even though they may be hidden. With love I will tear down the walls of suspicion, and hate that which they have built around their hearts. And in its place will I build bridges, so that my love may enter their souls. I will love the ambitious, for they can inspire me. I will love failures, for they can teach me. I will love the kings, for they are but human. I will love the meek, for they are divine. I will love the rich, for they are yet lonely. I will love the poor, for they are so many. I will love the young, for I will love the young for the faith they hold. I will love the old for the wisdom they share. I will love the beautiful for the eyes of sadness, and I will love the ugly for their souls of peace. I will greet this day with love in my heart. The whole concept of love comes from a deeper place. It's not something that I can teach you. It's something that I can talk about, and I can tell you it's a critical place if you want to be a great leader, but you have to decide that I'm interested in you. Let me answer a couple of questions here. Crystal says, does the daily huddle have to be face-to-face, or it can be over the phone? I love that you asked that question, and I'm going to give you a couple of responses. We have a lot of offices today with new business models where there is no office. They're completely virtual offices, and what we found is that when you do a daily huddle, as long as you do video, just like I'm sharing with video with you today, and you can see their faces and they can see your faces, then it's okay. I prefer face-to-face, and let me tell you why. When you do a daily huddle in the office, it forces them to get up and get in the shower. It also forces them to dress for success and be ready to meet with clients. And so if you want to create a culture of productivity within your office, here's the ideal scenario, is we come into the office and we have our scheduled huddles. While you're meeting with one agent, the other 2 agents are role-playing together, and then we rotate into the daily huddle. And so there's role plays going on, and the huddle's going on at the same time. And then as we wrap up the huddle, then we all get on the phones and prospect, because now we've been dressed for success, we've looked at our goals, we know what we want to accomplish today, and because we've been role-playing, it sets us in the mindset of prospecting. And so pick up the phone and let's all prospect for an hour as a team. And so if you want to create a culture of productivity, create energy around that daily huddle, the role plays, and the prospecting. And so, Crystal, I'm going to say that I prefer it to be face-to-face in the office. If you don't have an office or an environment where you can do that, then you have to use technology to be able to accomplish it, just like we're using with the Zoom video. And so, tell me more about your situation and why you prefer to do it on the phone versus face-to-face. Is there something particular about your situation that makes you want to do it over the phone? Donna asked the difference between managers and a leader. So as a manager has to tell people what to do. A leader teaches how people want to do things and hold themselves accountable. So a leader creates an environment for people to be successful, but they choose to do it. A manager makes somebody do something. They manage people. And so for me, I've learned that I prefer to teach my people how to lead as opposed to managing people. I liked Bob Corcoran used to say, and I love Bob Corcoran had a lot of great one-liners. One of my favorite ones from Bob Corcoran was, if I have to manage you, I don't need you. Now think about that. Crystal says that her agents are very reluctant to come to the office for anything at all. And so for me, Crystal, that's a culture issue. And so we haven't created an environment or set proper expectations during the hiring process. And by being reluctant to come to the office usually means they're reluctant for you to see what they're doing. And so they don't want you to know how little they actually do during the day. And when they start coming into the office, all of a sudden it becomes transparent. So transparency, I believe, is one of the great tools of leadership, meaning I need to be transparent with you as a leader so you can see what it is we want to accomplish. And I'd like you to be transparent with me so I can see where I can help you. So Crystal, when you ask them to come in for a huddle, I'll tell you what I would do is that the agents that come in for huddles, the ones that do role plays and the ones that prospect every day, they're the ones that are going to be on the rotation for the leads that come in. Whether I'm using Zillow or ProQuest or my sign calls, the agents that are doing the activities that I know deserve to be rewarded, I'm going to reward them with being on lead rotation. An agent who's reluctant to come in, that doesn't want to do a daily huddle, that doesn't want to do their 61 points, must be really busy. And so I don't want to give them leads that they can't follow up with because they don't even have the busy time to come in, for a 10-minute huddle. And so my attitude towards them is I am going to give them and engage with them at the same level of intensity that they engage with me. And then I would ask, and so Crystal, I'm just going to pick on you, is are these agents performing at 3 to 5 transactions a month? So are they doing, every day they leave their families and they go out and pretend to be working? Are they performing at a level that is consistent with people who are really working every day? Are they doing 3 to 5 deals a month? So answer that in your question right there. If the answer is yes, then I would create an environment where they can call in, send in their 61 points. If the answer is no, then I'm going to tell you that we should probably hire some new people. And when we hire them, let's set the expectations correctly as to what's expected. And so when you're in private coaching with us, we have a buyer agreement, and in that buyer agreement it states that they have to come in for daily huddles, they have to prospect for a minimum an hour a day, they have to do their 61 points, and that's in the agreement that we put together for buyer's agents. So we've got to hire correctly. Sometimes it's very difficult to change old culture because of we've been doing it the same way for such a long period of time that it makes it very difficult for us to help to change that culture. The other thing is I'm very patient, meaning I'm very patient with people. I see greatness in everybody, and I see amazing potential. And my job as a leader is not to beat them up, but to encourage them because I see much more potential for them. So Crystal responded with a great response. She says, no, they're new agents. For the most part, on an office that has been open for less than a year, I recruit daily, but finding agents seems to be hard regardless of what I give the agents for free. Right. And so Krista, you got to know that you're normal. So the questions that you have and the environment that you're in is normal. It's not something that you're not an outlier. This is something we deal with every single day. And I'm going to tell you that to deal with agents that are new, you owe it to them by accepting them as agents to create an environment for them to be successful. Meaning that as a leader, you have to, I guess the way for me to say this is that, when my wife and I sit down and we talk about what our most important things are, what keeps us up at night, what are the things that really make us be reflective of the environment we've created. And for me, it's the genuine responsibility that I have as a leader for not just the people that work for me, but the coaches that coach for us and the clients that we serve. And I feel like I have to be so good at creating an environment to help them be successful. And that weighs heavily on me. And so if you're bringing new agents in, what should keep you up at night is not how hard it is to recruit agents, but how genuinely interested you are in the individual agent's success. And if they know that you really want them to be successful, but they don't want it as well, then you have to decide as a leader to put your time and energy into those who want it for themselves as much as you want it for them. And that's where your focus needs to be. As opposed to, I'm going to make you come in. What I want to do, Crystal, is I want to get all your agents on a call, and I want to say, we love you, and we want you to be successful. And we know because we borrow other people's experiences to know what it takes to be successful in the business. So why do you want to be successful? So we have a new assessment. I'm going to share this with you. And it's called a DISC and Motivators Assessment. Now, many of you have taken DISC assessments, and we rolled out the Motivators Assessment. When somebody goes in and takes a DISC and Motivators Assessment, there's a couple things that are identified. By the way, these are from a team that we coach. One is a team leader, the other is a team member. And you'll see that their DISC is we have a high D, a high I, a super high S, and a super high C. That's a highly analytical administrative assistant. This is, by the way, a really great DISC profile for an administrative assistant. But I also want to know what drives that person. What are the motivators? And so when we do this assessment, it actually puts out a 50-page report that talks about how to interact with these people, how to talk to them, how do we get them to be excited. Now, this particular client is really motivated. This particular agent is motivated by economic rewards. The money motivates them. They need to make some money. They're also motivated by individual accomplishment. And so when you give them awards and you recognize them for a job well done, they're going to respond differently. Political is doing the right things in the eyes of others. Altruistic and regulatory, obeying the rules is normal. And so what the gray square is around the box is it shows where the norm is, how most people that take the test show. Theoretical means I'm not looking for, I want practical application. I want to be able to see that it works. So it's really interesting how different people are motivated by different things. Individualistic versus, being part of a team is motivation that shows differently. Now I'm going to give you all a link to this. This DISC and Motivators Assessment is only available to our private coaching clients, but because you're on this webinar today, I'm going to turn on a link that's available to all of you just for a couple of days. And so if you have team members and you want to see what your motivators are in relationship to your DISC, go in and use the link to take the assessment and then go in and read all of the things. Now, why would I do this? Why would I take the time to create to build an assessment that has their personality type as well as what drives them or what their motivators are? Anybody have any thoughts on why we would take the time and spend the money to build assessments that give us DISC and motivators and how they are in alignment with each other? Any thoughts on that? I'm going to give you an opportunity to use the questions and answer that thought. So why would we take the time to understand what motivates people and what their personality style is? I love those silent moments where people have an opportunity to reflect and to think. Cameron responded with, so we understand how to love them and so that our communication will be effective. I love that. Steve said, if you find out what drives or motivates people, then they're easier to help them improve. Jennifer says, because you're investing in them as a person. Anonymous attendee says, to know how they'll be in the field with their customers and their clients. And so far, all of these statements are absolutely true. Chris says that so we can communicate with them effectively so that we can help them. If you care enough about an individual to understand who they are and what drives and motivates them in their personality style, you will become adaptive. And when you become adaptive, what happens is it breaks down barriers and opens channels of communication. And so understanding who you are and how you naturally respond to people in different situations is what DISC is all about. Understanding who they are allows you to be adaptive and adjust your style to the style of the person you're communicating with so that so it breaks down barriers or walls and allows you to have effective communication. I want you to think about that. When you care about someone enough to know who they are and to recognize that they're a high analytical and they want to think things through and see the data that supports why you're doing things. So if I have someone that's a super high C, like you see on the top right here, this super high C and the super high S means that they care about being part of the team. They care about how others are going to view them. They care about having details before they move forward. If I tell them just to do something because I say to do it, that's my high D communicating the way I prefer. But when I stop and I think about, this is a high C and a high S, meaning they want to do what's right, but they have to know that there's data that backs it up. I'm going to communicate in a way that says, here's the data, here's why we do it, and I need you to do this because of how it's going to affect the team. Can I count on you for your support? When you communicate to them in a voice tone and a style that honors them based on who they are, instead of getting your big D out and running over people, what happens is the culture that you're creating completely changes because other people will begin to mimic that behavior, and there will be a high level of energy created in the office and a high level of energy created within your team. This whole concept of leading with love is about not being who you are. It's about being adaptive and caring more about the people you serve, and then adapting your style to be able to lead them in an effective way. And when you do that, you're going to find that there is a huge difference in the results that you get. Okay, great comments and questions. So next I want to introduce you to how we track things. And I'm going to go, let's see if I can go live into this document. I have to bring my screen over. And so what this is, let me see, I need to move my toolbar. So what I've opened up here is I've opened up a program called Workbench. And Workbench is where we manage our private clients. And so this is a client that is out of Phoenix, Arizona, Glendale, Arizona area. And I'm inside of Nate Martinez's Workbench. And in his Workbench, I can show that we have 25 active listings, 16 deals that are pending, 5 closed listings, 4 buyers closed year to date. Our gross closed income is $65,000, and our sales volume is a little over $3 million. That's not a bad January. And so year to date, they're doing pretty well. The other thing that you'll notice on here is you're looking at a dashboard of the key business numbers. And so when I'm on the key business numbers, I'm able to see what's going. I've learned that which gets measured gets done. And so we have been working relentlessly to create a program that allows us to see what the agents are focused on and doing. And so what you're looking at right here is you're looking at the Daily Success Habits Tracker. And let's see if I can see any numbers in here that have been put in the last couple of days. Okay, so what you're looking at is you're looking at the Daily Success Habits Tracker, and what happens is every day when you're working inside of this, you have drop-down menus that put down what you actually do in 30-minute increments. So throughout your day, we fill out what you do in 30-minute increments. This works great in a mobile environment. The other thing we do is we track your points on your 61 points right here. So as you put your points in, you can either take it from your DSH, that is a downloadable document, but every day we want to put all of those numbers in here, and then it shows you at the end of the week, I can look at what the team is doing, how many calls they're making, how many let's see. Oh, let me see if I can move this over. You can see it all. So as a team, I can see, the prospecting activities for this period is I've got 215 calls, 300 emails, 26 handwritten notes. I've shown homes to clients. I've got buyer appointments, listing appointments, offers written, closings, and open houses. So I can see as a team that we're averaging a high level of points. And I can also see which people on the team are getting their points done and when the last time they entered their points in the system. By having a system that allows me to track what's going on with the team, I can increase my accountability and I can see what's actually working. As a coach, I can go in and I can see everything that's happening with all my clients. As Workman Success Systems, I have a completely different dashboard that allows me to go in and see all of the teams of all of the people we're coaching so that I can see how many dials it takes to have an appointment, how many emails it takes to get an appointment, best time of day to call, how many buyer appointments, listing appointments, and offers are written as a result of the activities that we're doing. And by tracking it at this level, what happens is we start to get predictable analytics that we can share with all of our teams to know exactly what you have to do every day to get to the level of transactions it takes to have an amazing year. Nate's a 7-figure team that's going to do a great business this year as a result of his people doing the daily activities and being able to go in and model that activity. So this is done in a program we call Workbench. Now I'm going to go back into Augmandino for just a minute, and I'm going to talk about I want to talk a little bit about how we deal with people that that offend us, and how do we really do that. He says, "I will greet with this day with love in my heart, and how will I react to the actions of others? With love. For just as love is my weapon to open the hearts of men, love is also my shield to repulse the arrows of hate and spears of anger. Adversity and discouragement will beat against my new shield and become as softest of rains. My shield will protect me in the marketplace and sustain me when I am alone. It will uplift me in moments of despair, yet it will calm me in times of exultation. I will become stronger and more protective with use until one day I will cast it aside and walk unencumbered among all manners of men. And when I do, my name will be raised high on the pyramid of life. I will greet this day with love in my heart. And how will I confront those who meet? In silence and in one way. I will say to myself, I love you. Though spoken in silence, these words will shine in my eyes, unwrinkle my brow. I love this. And it says, and bring a smile to my lips, an echo in my voice. And who is there who can say nay to my goods when his heart feels my love? I will greet this day with love in my heart. And most of all, I will love myself. For when I do, I will zealously inspect all things which enter my body, my mind, and my soul, and my heart. Never will I overindulge the requests of my flesh. Rather, I will cherish my body with cleanliness and with moderation. Never will I allow my mind to be distracted to evil and despair. Rather, I will uplift it with the knowledge and wisdom of the ages." I love Augmandino's concept of the 10 scrolls. And you'll see that there's different places throughout my office where 10 scrolls are reflected. The biggest thing for me is, reading a scroll, reciting it over and over, and having it be part of your DNA. I will greet this day with love in my heart. And how will I confront those who I meet? In only one way. In silence in myself, I'll say, I love you. I want you to think about this when you ask your agents to come in for a daily huddle. I want you to silently into yourself say, I'm going to open up my screen again. I want you to silently into yourself say, I love you, and then say, can I get you to come in for a daily huddle? Because I want to make a difference in what you're working on. And I want to make sure that we're doing the things that will give you the greatest result for your family. In silence into yourself, say, I love you, before you pick up the phone and start prospecting. What happens is it changes the energy of the call. The other thing you'll notice is I'm standing up. You know, one of the things I created in my new office space is I wanted to create an environment where people had energy in their engagements. And so this is a stand. So you're seeing me, I'm moving my stand-up desk. It's now going down. It's almost down to the regular desk height. I don't sit all day long, and it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. And the reason I don't sit, well, there's two reasons. One is I'm trying to be more fit. The other reason is that when I'm standing, I'm more engaging. The other thing I've learned is that when I use Zoom video on my calls, I'm not distracted by my cell phone, and I'm not sitting here typing, doing something else. When I'm in a conversation and I have video in front of me, what happens is I know that you see me, and I know and I can see my client. And so when my client is distracted or doing something different, I'll just wait until they look at me and we're back re-engaged again. And I am more focused. And so I want to care about the relationships that I'm engaged with all day long, whether they're real estate clients or coaching clients or coaches. I want to make sure that they know I'm fully present in the engagement. Being a great leader is being present in your engagement. It's about caring about people enough to let them know that they have your undivided attention. I'm going to open up the rest of the call today for questions, but I'm going to share with you, you can go to workmansuccess.com/heart. And in that download, you can get a copy of the Daily Huddle Agenda, which I'm going to give to all of you. I'm going to give you the free Disc and Motivators link that's only going to be available for a couple of days. And for those of you that are not private clients already, I encourage you to take some time and sign up for a free business consult where we'll talk to you about what it looks like to coach with one of our Workman Success coaches. We are making such a massive impact in the lives of the clients we serve that it's humbling, and I take that responsibility very seriously. And if you're looking to grow and you're looking to be a better leader, then take the time to see what it takes and see if we're a good fit. And so I encourage you to do that. And so now I'm going to take the time to answer any questions, first about daily huddles, daily success habits, and our topic of the day. And then I'll open up the last few minutes of the call to any question you might have about any topic that is weighing heavily on your mind. And so let me go to my questions. Okay, Cameron asked a question. What is 1MT, 1MT? Cameron, I love that you're paying attention on the daily success habits, and in the first video on the Buyer Agent Mastery program, it's either the first or second video, we teach the daily success habits tracker. And one of the ways you get your 61st point is by doing one more thing one more time. And so when everybody else quits, what I've learned is, and I get this from a Paralympian that I met. His name is Josh Sundquist. And Josh Sundquist was an amazing young man. I saw him on stage. He was, as an 11-year-old boy, he had his leg amputated because of a bone cancer, a rare form of bone cancer. And he ended up going out and making the USA Paralympic team and went on to do some great things in his life. And I met him when he was about 21 years old. And he talked about how he wanted to make the team, and he wasn't the biggest or the strongest or the fastest skier. And he knew he had to do more than everybody else. And so at the end of the day, when everybody else went back to the locker room and back to the lodge, he would make one more run one more time. When they were running the stadiums and they were going around, and on his one leg he was hopping up the stairs and going down all the way around the stadium, everybody would go back to the locker room, he would do one more thing one more time. And I've taken that concept from Josh Sundquist and I've added it to prospecting and said, look, when you feel like you're done for the day, make one more call one more time and I'll give you a point for it. When you're sitting in open house and you're waiting for people to come in, wait for a few more minutes to talk to one more person one more time. Knock on one more door one more time. Follow up with one more lead one more time. What I found is that the exceptional do just a little bit more than the average, but it makes a massive impact on the result they get at the end of the day. And so one more thing one more time is all about just doing that little bit extra to make a bigger difference. Josh will tell you that on his skis, and if you can imagine a Paralympian, he has the one leg and the one ski, and then each of his ski poles are skis. And what he did is he took a Sharpie marker and wrote on the bottom of each of his skis, 1MT, 1MT. And that became his motto and his method for success that he still uses today as he does one more thing one more time. So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, Cameron. Nicole asked, where can I locate the guide for daily huddles? It's right here in the download, workmansuccess.com/heart. You see where that is right now. Okay, any other questions? So other questions for me. For those of you that are running teams or that want to have greater engagement with your teams in huddles or have greater success, what are the things that keep you up at night? I'm going to give you an opportunity. This is your Ask Verl Anything moment where you can ask me anything and I'll give you whatever I can to help you be successful in your business. Whether you're a coaching client or not a coaching client, I'll share with you anything that I have that can help you. I'll give you just a few. Okay, so I'll have Chet check that, but the link workmansuccess.com/heart, and it says received page not found. Chet, if you'll go in and make sure that that link works and make sure that the download page is working, that'd be great, and let John know that it's working. It should be working great. All right, so I'm going to give you just a final thought with Ogmandino's Greet This Day with Love in My Heart. I'm not seeing questions, guys. You have a lot. This is an opportunity for you to ask Verl anything, and no questions is okay with me. I will greet this day with love in my heart. Henceforth, I will love all mankind. From this moment, all hate is let from my veins. For I have not time to hate, only time to love. From this moment, I take the first step required to become a man among men. With love, I will increase my sales 100-fold and become a great salesman. If I have no other qualities, I can succeed with love alone. Without it, I will fail. Though I possess all the knowledge and the skills of the world, I will greet this day with love in my heart, and I will succeed. I appreciate the thought that goes into caring about your people enough to actually love them. And so I love Steve's question. Steve asked me a question about, he says, what do I do to get my team on board? We aren't selling much, and they seem to be okay with mediocrity. Well, Steve, I'm going to give you the hard answer to that is you have to invest in those who are willing to invest in themselves. And I can't make them want it more for themselves. And so I would start by asking them what's important to them and maybe even having them create vision boards and say at the end of the year, if you hit your goals, what are you going to do with the money? How is it going to impact your life and change? And I want to get them engaged in the process. And so I'll have them create a vision board of what they really want. Sometimes I'll put fitness. One of my buyer's agents did a picture of himself on the Rock's body. And he says, you know, I want to have this, and I want to be able to have money to drive a certain kind of car. And there was a picture of the board on the car. And so what happened as a result of that is when I understood what was important to them, it changed the way I communicated with them. So once I know what they want, then I can say, are you willing to do what it takes to get there? And if their answer is yes, then I'll say, here's the things I know. I know you've got to do a daily huddle. I know you have to prospect, and I know you have to get 61 points. And if you do that, it'll generate appointments. So how many appointments do you have to go on this year in order to be able to hit those goals? And so I'm going to start it with why. If they don't have a why and there's nothing that motivates them, I want you to do everything you can to develop those you have, and after all you can do, and they won't participate or they won't engage, then it's time to hire new people. One of the greatest motivators is competition, and when you hire the new people, then hire new people with the right attitude, with the right motivators. I want people that are hungry. I want people that need the money. If you're hiring license hangers that are looking for a place to hang their license and for you to give them leads, then you're not hiring the right people. I want people that are hungry. I want people that need to support their families. I want people that are driven for success. And if they are, then I'm going to create an environment for them to hit any level of success they want. If they're not driven for that, if they're just looking for a place and they've never been successful anywhere they are, then I'm going to open the door for them. They have to walk through it. If they don't walk through it, then I'm not going to invest my time or my energy in that. I want to feed people who are hungry. Think about that. As a leader, I want to feed people who are hungry. If you're hungry, come on. Let's go. I'll help you. If you're not hungry, that's okay with me. It's just not a great place. We're probably not a good fit. And so, Steve, you have to understand and recognize when there's a fit or not a fit and feed the hungry. And as you feed the hungry, it's so rewarding as a leader because you see them get successful. And the coolest thing about being a team leader is that as you help your people get successful, the money takes care of itself. You become more successful as a result. Does that make sense? All right. Karen wanted to know the best way to become great at home valuations and pricing properties correctly to sell. Karen, I love that question because it tells me that you want to become a true expert in real estate. And I'm a big believer that if you want to be successful, that you can't just show up with a great attitude. You have to be more intelligent than the other agents that are competing for that business. And so how do you price and do valuations for homes to sell? You become a student of the game. You go back and you look at where properties were listed. You look at the average sales price and the mean sales price. You look at the ratios. What's the word I'm looking for? It's you look at absorption rates and how much inventory is on the market, and you start studying, houses that were sold within a period of time were sold within X of the list price. And it's usually pretty close. So if we price the property correctly, we're going to be able to sell it faster. When you overprice a property, you run the numbers in your MLS, you realize that properties stay on the market longer, that potential buyers wonder what's wrong with the home, and eventually sells for a much lower percentage. And so by having that data, and there's all kinds of data that's available, there's local data that your MLSs will provide, there's national data that's available, there's companies like Keeping Current Matters that I really like for looking at statistical data that will give you the ability to have really strong, I want to call it really strong analytics, so that when you show up, you can have intelligent conversation. So be an expert in the marketplace. Love the question. So that's okay. Marcia, what questions you use to find hungry agents? I'm going to tell you that. Let me see if I have the book on my desk. Patrick Lencioni's book. Here it is. Patrick Lencioni's book, I'm going to show it to you, The Ideal Team Player, talks about the 3 things that we look for when we're hiring talent. We look for people that are hungry, humble, and smart. And inside the book, he breaks down and gives you questions to identify people that fit the criteria of hungry, humble, and smart. And so I'm going to recommend Patrick Lencioni's book, The Ideal Team Player. We've taken excerpts out of that, and in our hiring process, which kind of goes to Marcia's question is, do you have a hiring system? The answer is, we have a system for everything to run a successful team. We have the interview questions, how to recruit them, text messages sent out to identify people that are correctly, what you do with them the first 14 days, how to completely onboard them, 2-month training program for buyer's agents. We have a listing agent program, and we have training for your admins. And so we have a hiring system for every position on the team, and that's all included with coaching. And so when you come in and do your coaching consult, ask the person doing your consult to kind of take you through all of the systems and processes we have. And so we create pretty much everything you need to be able to kick butt as a team leader. So great questions. All right. Okay, so Heather asked, I got time for a couple more questions. Heather asked, Laura wants to know when my recruiting seminar is. I've got a couple of really great people that do recruiting events. One of them is Rick Jihal, who's phenomenal, one of our speakers and coaches. And I don't know if I have one scheduled to do a specific recruiting seminar, but if that's something that's interesting to you, well, let's talk about that and see if we can get one on the calendar. We do a lot of recruiting, and we recruit a lot of teams. And so we really focus on that with our team leaders and our coaches. And we do some training of people that are recruiting brokers and owners who are doing recruiting and things like that. And I've got some specific coaches who have a tremendous amount of experience in recruiting. And so if you're looking for help with that, sign up for a business consult, and we'll see if we can help you. Okay, Heather asked, what if I have a mentor? What if I have a mentor who is not leading in love? My mentor has no structure. It isn't organized. When I ask my mentor to please show me how she does FSBOs and expired, the response is, don't wait for me, just go do it. I've told her and older that I learn best by doing and seeing. And so if, there's a big difference between a mentor and a coach. And so a mentor is someone who teaches you without any kind of, a mentor is someone who you look to for advice, and their job is to give you sound advice, but you haven't properly engaged them, meaning you're not paying them to be engaged and hold you accountable and teach you and train you on systems and process. A mentor to me is someone, and I have many mentors that I call and say, you know, I really could use some help with a strategic business problem. Could you give me some advice? And without any agenda at all, the mentor shares with me their advice, and I do the same for them. A coach is different, Heather. A coach is someone who looks at your business with a very different perspective. Their agenda is your success. And because you've properly engaged them, they have the tools and the resources to give you and then say, did you do it? Let me show you how it's done properly. And that's probably the difference between a mentor and a coach. So I'm thinking that you probably need to go outside of a mentoring relationship and engage in a proper coaching relationship if you're at a place financially where that makes sense. Steve asked a question. He says, now that I'm a coaching client, I realize that I've been providing too many tools and resources without keeping enough revenue to pay for it. I need to change something before I can grow our team and our business. How do I pull back without them feeling like I don't care about the money? All right, Steve, this is a big one. What I do is I give them all the tools and the resources, and I grandfather them in. And so in my relationship with my agents, it's really important that you operate from a position of integrity, meaning that you brought them in and you put splits, you gave them splits. And it's not healthy to go out and change their splits. Say, I have a new coach and now we're going to change everything. And so what I do is I say, there's a couple things that I need from you. First of all, I need you to be fully engaged in the systems. I need you to be engaged. And if you're engaged in the systems and the processes and you're doing your 61 points and you maintain a minimum of 2 transactions a month, I'm going to leave you at the split you're on. But if you go for more than 90 days or 3 months without doing 2 transactions a month, then that means I have to invest more in you, which is okay, but I have to adjust the split accordingly. The second thing I'll tell them is that I'm going to recruit new agents at a split that allows me to be profitable. If you ever tell them that you're on a different split, then you'll revert to the compensation that's in the new agreement. And so I want you to behave with integrity, create an environment that allows them to succeed, be okay with the smaller margins that you promise them as long as they're performing. If they're not performing, they're going to self-eliminate, and when you bring new people in, what's going to happen is all of a sudden you get people that are doing the right activities. They're going to be on the right split. They're going to get a lion's share of the leads that are coming to the company as well, because you get a return on the investment that you're making to generate and create those leads. And so that's how I would handle it. I wouldn't go in and change your compensation. I think that that's a mistake, because we have to run our business and our lives with integrity. And so going forward, make sure we do it the right way and follow coaching advice and the systems that are created. And Steve, I hope that's helpful to you. Lots of people interested in the recruiting seminar. I love that. Do I have a list of the coaching programs and the different costs? And so my answer is yes, I do, but I don't have time to go through that. And I don't really want this to be about selling coaching. So sign up for a free business consult. Our coaching programs range from $850 a month to $2150 a month, and it really depends on what level you are in business. If you're earning over $100,000 a year, it makes sense to sign up for a business consult. If you're earning less than that, then sign up for a business consult with the attitude of, how do I get into your training center? And for $99 a month, you can have access to a lot of the training that we provide to get you to a place where it makes sense that you engage with a private coach. Does that make sense? Which Og Mandino book did you use? The Og Mandino book that I used for today is The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And this is one of the Bibles. One of my coaching clients created a great etching of the greatest salesman in the world. And it's I've got all the scrolls etched in a beautiful maple thing, and I'm getting ready to hang it on my wall. That's how strongly I feel about the principles that are taught in the book. And each month we talk about some of those different principles. I hope this webinar was valuable to you. I hope that you got some good information out of it and things that will help you become a better leader. I want to finish and simply encourage you to lead with love, and that when you love someone enough to hold them accountable, that's when everything starts to change in your business and in their lives. And when you start changing lives, I promise the money will take care of themselves. Everybody, thanks for being here. I appreciate you dedicating your time to be on this webinar today, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye now.